we have a very extensive looking for friends, looking for group system that makes it really easy for you to find someone of your class or race or your level or someone to group up with. And in beta we found really, really effective. Banks, there's a huge auction functionality, auction houses throughout the game. Obviously our crafters are going to be making big use of that. And you can send mail, and you can send packages, and you can send money to each other. And the music system, which is really cool, which if any of you played beta, you've experienced. If not, we'll show you next door. It's the ability for you to play music in the game. So we have a number of instruments, whether it's a lute or a flute, and there's going to be many more over time, but there's 4 at launch, that you can actually map to the keyboard of your computer and play in real time. And you can actually play with other people. So we've got people playing music together in front of the Prancing Pony. There's a really wonderful rendition of Dust in the Wind that's posted on YouTube that you should check out. But, I mean, think about it. You've got bands collecting and playing in Middle-earth in real time. It's really, really cool. It's a hugely, hugely fun thing to do. And then there's the War of the Ring. You know, everything that you do and everything that's happening in Middle-earth is about the War of the Ring. It's about war, it's about conflict and battle. And the challenge we had for a game like LOTR is people love PvP, lots of people do, and at the same time, we don't want, as we said, hobbits whacking each other in the Shire. So how do you do that? How do you give someone that experience? So what we decided to create was monster play. So we create whole regions in the world, and these are not just small arena areas, it's an entire region where this kind of conflict can happen. So in addition to playing your regular character that you can take into these monster play regions, you can actually start building your own monsters and build your kind of army of monsters. And part of this is, if we're going to have evil in the world, how am I going to experience that? You know, one of the great things about an interactive medium is there's things that we can do that you can't really do, for example, in a movie, that I can actually feel evil as I come near it, that it actually affects me. So we created something called Dread, which is a force in Middle-earth. And as you come into close proximity with a monster or an evil place like Angmar, you begin to feel that dread. You know, what you see on screen starts to get distorted. Your morale starts to go down. You get weaker over time. And unless you have potions and abilities and the right kinds of people to help you combat that, you're going to be weakened by just being near evil. And it's a very cool sort of palpable way for you to feel the dread and corruption in Middle-earth. On the flip side of that is hope, which you can collect and which will help strengthen you and fight against dread. And hope is something that you get from the elves, in Rivendell, in Bree, in places that you would expect to be filled with hope in Middle-earth. So we talked about monster play. You build your army of monsters, which means I can build a stable of monsters that I'm growing and advancing throughout my experience. And I can take them into these areas. At launch, you can play a spider, a warg, which is basically a sentient wolf, an orc, or an urk. And you can create all of these characters if you want to, and group with other monsters and fight against player characters. And again, you can fight in individual combat in this area, or you can fight in these large raids that we talked about, where I'm trying to take over a castle, or take over a lumberyard, or take over a forest where certain resources are available to me. So there are lots of quests available to both sides when I come into this world. So there's a PvE experience in there as well to sort of familiarize yourself with the area and sort of force people to start getting involved in the experience. But ultimately, everybody meets on the battleground, which is huge, and fights over resources, fights over lumber, fights over ore, fights over castles, which are located in the center of the Etten Moors, which is the region in which you can fight monster play. And after launch, this is going to continue to grow. There will be more and more monster play regions to fight in. But there is lots and lots of things to do in monster play, even at launch. And there's an advancement path for your monster as well. As you move through the world and then you accomplish things, you get more and more destiny points. Destiny points are what you get instead of XP. So you can actually think of destiny points as the XP for monster play. Destiny points you can spend to make your monster cooler, to get upgrades, to get cool traits and weapons for your monster. If applicable, spiders don't carry swords very often. Or you can spend them on your character mains. You can get buffs for your characters. You can go over to the player side and spend those same points that you earned in monster play to make your character stronger for a period of time. The second thing you acquire is infamy. So player kills give you infamy points. and that raises your ranking and your rating in the world. So very much like back to chess, you know, you can be a grandmaster or you can be a master, whatever it is. Everybody in the game is ranked by their rating, and that has to do with how many people or monsters you've killed, depending on what side you're at. And that's something that's displayed in leaderboards. That's something that you'll be tracking and you'll be able to show off with everyone else in the game. So we talked a little bit about this, the fact that you can control these towers, you can control rally circles, which is really cool. Rally circle is basically where people are going to spawn to when they die. So the fact that you can actually control that is pretty cool. You take it over and you've got someone else's spawn point. And then you're fighting for resources like I talked about in the forest, in the woods, in the mines. So there's already built-in objectives for PvP, which are ongoing. So yeah, enough talking, more playing, right? So Lord of the Rings, we think, is going to be the largest MMO that's come along in a very long time. We think that, you know, it's Lord of the Rings, so it has to be big. And we're really excited about the game we created, the way it's put together, the response we've been getting through beta, and we really just want to get you guys inside and see what it looks like and see what it plays like. And then obviously you're going to have lots of questions from me later. So, it's just time. How much time do we have?
Oh, we're perfect. So if we start interviews in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So obviously you're first.
All right, so why don't I'll show you a few places in the world if I can. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm actually running the client and the server on this little laptop here. I find it's safer for these kind of presentations to make sure that we're not counting on having an internet connection. So you'll see it over when we play it on the actual beta servers. When you've got a server farm, it'll perform a little bit better. So if you see some slowness or choppiness, it's because I'm running essentially a server farm and the client on this little laptop here. But I think this will give you a basic idea of what the world looks like. So here we are, outside Frodo Baggins' house, or Bilbo Baggins, depending on who you talk to. And you can see, just looking out on the horizon, one of the things that we worked on for our engine in terms of improvement is the fact that this is Middle-earth. You need to really have this sense of vastness that I can see out, and that anywhere I can see, I can go. This is a world that I can go out and explore and pretty much do whatever I want, whenever I want. So there's no sense of zoning. You're never zoning in the world. You're always in an open, expansive world that you can just explore at will. I'm going to go swimming. It's warm in here. So from an art style, the goal for our art team was, you know, make this the most beautiful place you can imagine, and a place that you want to be, a place that I want to spend a lot of time in. You can always do water ballet in here if you want to. One of the places that we spend a significant amount of time on, as you can imagine, is Rivendell. Put a little bit of pressure on our artists who are working on Rivendell and say, look guys, there's only one way this can work out. You know, it has to be absolutely gorgeous. You're building Rivendell. And I think that they really rose to the challenge. It's one of the more beautiful places in the world.